Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. I'll be giving you a quick roundup of all the biggest news of the day. And the biggest news of the day is if Netanyahu is dead. Because Israel has released this AI video, and in this AI video, it shows that he's got six fingers, fingers that are like claws. Look at that! Look at that! They look like claws. They're all even basically. No human hand is like that. Some, you can see the other hand has got six fingers. People were zooming in on his teeth, and his teeth didn't look like vampire. So it's really weird. He's definitely AI. And there's also a clip where Scott Bessent was in the middle of an interview, and he was called off in the middle of the interview, and then he came back looking very shaken. And there's other basically things like, for example, yeah, so this tweet was sent out by by his account, and it seemed very strange because they deleted this tweet very soon afterwards. And there's also like other telltale signs, like his son usually tweets about 40, 50 times a day. And for 3 days now, he's not been tweeting, or he's been sending like one or two very small tweets. So there's obviously something is wrong here. And a lot of people are thinking that he's dead. Same with Ben Gavir, and he died because a few days ago Iran fired a ballistic missile at a bunker, and this is the bunker where a lot of leaders stay at, a lot of top-ranking leaders, and it could have been Netanyahu was one of the, is was in one of these bunkers. So we haven't got confirmation yet, so we don't know. So I don't want to get too excited, guys. I don't want to get too excited. But if he is dead, then Trump has basically done his regime change, but not in Iran. He's done it in Israel. So I don't think these are the consequences he wanted. But even if he's dead, guys, I don't think the war is going to stop because it's not just Netanyahu doing all of this. It's most of Israel. And whoever takes charge will carry on doing the same thing. Because you've seen all the ministers in Israel, they're all saying the same thing. There's no real opposition. So whoever comes in will still be attacking Iran. It's not going to stop. And same in Gaza. I think Netanyahu is just a fall guy, to be honest. Um, Main problem is Israeli society. They all they're all bunch of war mongers, to be honest. They all want war. They all want blood. They want blood sacrifices. So anybody getting excited, celebrating for his death, nothing will change. I think it will still carry on. Anyway, let's move on. I wanted to talk about India more, guys. So I do know that a couple of ships have been sent through the Hormuz Strait today of Indian LNG ships. And the reason they got sent, only two, by the way, not, Iran did not let India send more than two ships. And the reason they sent two ships today is because India has been holding about 100 sailors, Iranian sailors, and Iran wants them back. And also, India has been holding Iranian ships as well in its docks, and Iran obviously wants them back. So they made a deal. Iran will get the sailors back and the Iranian ships, and India will get two LNG ships uh, going via the Hormuz Strait. So that was the deal that was struck. India still hasn't got full access to go through the Hormuz Strait. This is only one deal, and these LNG ships will probably last maybe India a week, and then they have to go through the same process again. Because, as you know, 1.4 billion people, if they all use LNG, it really doesn't last that long, guys. One ship will probably last a few days, and second ship will probably last another few days, so probably about a week. So why did Modi put himself in this situation? Iran and India actually had a very good relationship, uh, dating back centuries. We're not talking years here or decades. It goes back to centuries. India and Iran, they have a very shared history. And Iran obviously has got the Persian Empire, and India is a very old civilization as well. Dating back 4, 5,000 years. So why did Modi decided to backstab India and go away from his usual neutral stance? Well, I mentioned one reason yesterday. Well, one of the main reasons is India wanted a similar thing to the Belt and Road. They wanted access to Europe so they can sell more products to Europe. And India, the Gulf states, especially Saudi Arabia and Israel, came up with a solution that there would be some sort of land sea bridge going through the Indian Ocean, going into Saudi Arabia. There will be a train line going into Israel, and then from Israel it goes into Europe by ship. So that would give India direct access to Europe, and it would give Israel direct access to India's market as well. So it's win-win for both those countries. So that's one reason. But the main reason, I think, absolutely main reason that India decided to stab Iran is because of Pakistan. Because India miscalculated really badly here. They thought that Iran, like the West, would topple, after, if Israel and America starts attacking Iran. They basically sold Modi a dream. They said, we will bomb Iran for a few days and the whole regime will topple, and then we will put our puppets in Iran, and these puppets will serve the West, and they will also serve India as well. So that was the dream they sold Modi, and Modi took it. And this is why Modi went to Israel a few days before they attacked, because they gave Modi all the plans. They told him everything. This is our plan. This is what we want to do. Are you with us or against us? And Modi said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm with you guys." And it's because of Pakistan. If the West took down Iran, like they did a regime change in Iran, and they put a friendly pro-West, pro-Israel, pro-India, you know, um, puppet in there, then that means that Pakistan would be surrounded by hostile countries. So Pakistan would be surrounded by a pro-West, pro-Indian Iran. Pakistan also has a very hostile relationship with Afghanistan. They had a short war not long ago, and they obviously have a very hostile, relationship with India. So Pakistan is completely surrounded by enemies. That was that was a dream Modi, was sold. So this is why Modi wanted regime change in Iran, and it would benefit Modi and India greatly if there was a regime change who is friendly to India. And this is the reason he backstabbed um, Iran. And this guy here you see on Twitter, this guy confirmed it all, and you can see he says here, if Israel succeeds in taking down Iran, then Pakistan can be controlled from three sides: India from the east, Afghanistan, Taliban, and also, you know, and the pro-Israeli Iran from the left. This is the Indian route to take back. That's what he said. And it makes perfect sense. This is the only reason why India has done what it's done. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for them. This is a typical example of FAFO, and it's completely backfired on India because not only has the bombing failed to have a regime change, but it's also caused many consequences. And one of the consequences is India has lost its friendship with Iran. And because they've lost their friendship with Iran, Iran is not going to let any ships go through the Hormuz Strait who are friendly towards the West or friendly towards Israel. So India has lost really badly. It's almost like they went all in, on a bet and they have lost. When you go to when you gamble, guys. I'm not saying you should gamble, but people that gamble and they put all their bets on one chip and it fails, and you've got no backup plan. You basically lost, basically. So that's why India has backstabbed Iran, and it's completely backfired on them. And because of this mistake, I think India is going to have some major problems with energy, with inflation. They're going to have probably civil wars coming up. So watch this space. It's a huge, huge blunder by Modi. So there's some more stories about this KC-35 refueling aircraft. 5 more got destroyed today. And this was confirmed by Washington Post. So this is not coming from Twitter accounts, or this is not coming from unofficial accounts. This is coming directly from Washington Post, and Washington Post gets it from CENTCOM and from the Pentagon and things like that. So again, guys, the questions are going to be asked: why is Saudi allowing these airplanes to be used on Saudi airspace to attack Iran? And people will also ask, maybe that Iran is justifying attacking these Gulf states because these Gulf states are actively helping American refuelers fly over the airspace and to attack Iran. And you can see the flight path here. The planes in yellow are the refueling planes, and the planes in orange are fighter jets. So you can see most of them are in Saudi Arabian airspace. So this is why, guys, this is the problem with the Muslim world. If all the Muslim countries all got united and they basically did not have any US military bases, they had no relationship with Israel, they do not allow any airspace for American fighter jets or refueling, there would be no wars in the region because America would not be able to do any wars in the region. And the Muslim countries would be powerful because they wouldn't be at war with each other, and they would be obviously building up the economy, making lots of money, and the whole region would have been very, very developed. Instead, this region has been in fire for a long time, all because of America and Israel, obviously. So the Muslim countries, they really need to start sticking together, guys, because if they carry this on, they are letting Israel complete its Greater Israel project. It will be easy for Israel. For Israel, this is perfect. If all the Muslim countries start attacking each other and blowing each other up, then the Greater Israel project for Israel, nobody can stop them. They can do whatever they want. And that's what they want. They want all the Muslim countries to destroy each other, have civil wars, fight all these sectarian battles with each other. That's what they want. They don't want any division. I mean, sorry, they don't want any unity. They want division. And the Muslim countries are giving Israel what it wants. Crazy, guys. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar really need to, stop using American military bases in their soil. They need to kick them out as soon as possible. Because what does it give them in return? It basically drags them into war with their neighbors. They're getting bombed, their economy is getting destroyed. I mean, what benefits do they have having a US military base in their country? Nothing, no benefit whatsoever. Is America giving them any money? No. End of the day, look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's got Vision 2030, and they are using oil money to, build all these mega projects. The line in Saudi Arabia, I think that's stopped, by the way. And is America helping them? Is America actually helping, giving them any money to develop these projects? No, not even a penny. There's no American money going into Saudi Arabia to develop these mega projects. It's all coming from, Saudi's oil money. So there is no benefit whatsoever for these, Gulf countries being friends with America. I think they thought initially having American bases would scare anyone into attacking them. They would be safe. They'll be safe from regime change. They'll be safe from attacks from other countries. But Qatar has proved, you know, Qatar has proved that it really doesn't matter. Israel can attack Qatar any time, and America can start a war with Iran and invite attacks into Qatar. You're basically sitting ducks. You just American poodles, basically. And the same goes to any country that's hosting American bases. You really need to look at yourself and decide whether it's worth it having all these American bases in your country, because they are not there to protect you. You are basically a target. And I'm talking to you, Philippines. I'm talking to you, South Korea. I'm talking to you, Japan. I'm talking to you, Australia, Britain, Great Britain. Well, it's not great anymore. But you know what I mean. Anyway, next story, guys. So America has attacked Iranian island called Kharg Island, and Kharg Island produces 80% of the oil for Iran. And America has basically attacked it today, and it looks like they're going to be sending ground troops into the island, and they're going to take over the oil fields. So that's what Trump wants. But unfortunately for Trump, this is not going to work, because Iran's going to fight back in a number of ways. Number one, if their oil facilities get attacked and get taken over by Americans, first thing Iran's going to do is start attacking other oil facilities. And Iran already said today any oil facilities in the Gulf which are owned by American shareholders, they're going to be attacked. And also, Iran is not Venezuela, Iran is not Syria, Iran is not Iraq. So I think what Trump thinks that he can take over the island and Iran would do nothing. Wrong, guys. Iran can fire missiles all day long at the island, and Iran can fire drones all day at the island. They would cause so many casualties, American casualties. It would be unbelievable. And America would have no choice but to leave the island, because they they wouldn't have all the air defense, because all the air defense has been used up in the Middle East. So they'll be sitting ducks. They'll be just like sitting targets for the Iranians, and Iranians will be happy just to attack them all day with drones and missiles. So this is a really bad idea, and it's not going to work. And he worked in Syria. He worked because Syria had no weapons at the time. They were completely bare. The Syrian army wouldn't fight the Americans. Syria was ready to collapse. And when America fought Iraq as well, Iraq literally had no weapons. All their weapons have been, all the dangerous weapons were all disabled because of all the sanctions and things like that. And Venezuela obviously didn't even put up a fight, guys. So Iran is not going to be like that. And I think if they take this island, it's going to be a huge mistake for America and all these American soldiers that are going to be in the island. They're just going to be sitting ducks, unfortunately. Trump doesn't know that. Trump is living in his own fantasy world. He doesn't really. He's not a very good strategist. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he's a businessman, but he's not a very good businessman, because a lot of his businesses went bankrupt. I think he went bankrupt about 7 times. So yeah, he really hasn't thought this through, and I think he's just panicking here. He's just having a meltdown. He thinks he can just take the island, take the Iranian oil, and that would be the end of it. Iran would be happily throw missiles and drones all day at the island. And even if the oil facilities are all destroyed at the island, who's going to rebuild them? Is America going to rebuild them? They're not going to rebuild them because every time they rebuild it, Iran's going to fire missiles at it and destroy it. So if Iran doesn't have any use for that island, then they're not going to allow America to steal it. So somebody said also that if if America takes the island, it doesn't matter if the island produces oil or not, because they basically take away Iran's money away, basically, because Iran won't have access to that oil. Nobody will. Um, y- yeah, yeah, it's true, but if you look at the sanction, Iran has been under heavy sanctions for 50 years, guys. The people have really, really suffered. It's only recently, probably, the last 10 years that Iran has been making good money from the sanctions. They've been selling oil to China and mainly to China, to be honest, and they've been getting lots of help from China, and China has been helping develop the island with Iran. So 10 years ago, they didn't have any oil coming out from that island. It was basically with China's help and Russian help as well that they developed the islands jointly to basically make the oil. So my point is, even if America takes away that island, Iran would not lose much because these people in Iran, they've all been living with sanctions for 50 years. So if they've been living with sanctions for 50 years, they can live without, oil money that's coming from the island. In fact, I think America would lose more because if Iran starts attacking oil facilities all over the Middle East and the Gulf countries, oil price will just go to like $200, and the whole world's economy is going to be in such a bad shape. American gas prices are going to go to, you know, 10x maybe, and people in America will just revolt. They would have you will see riots in the streets, economies will crash, banks will crash, and this is going to hurt America more rather than Iran, because Iran's been under heavy sanctions, so they can live without any money, or their life has already been hard with all the sanctions. But Americans or North Americans, people that live in the USA, they're all used to basically living life in the West, with all the freedom of clubbing and doing whatever you want. Um, you know, North Americans haven't really suffered. When I say suffered, they haven't really been in a really long, you know, recession or depression. Last major recession depression was in the, I think, 1930s or 1940s. There was a major recession in the 1980s as well. And obviously you had the 2008 crash, but these are just minor stuff, you know, for people to really suffer hardship. The country has to go through a real depression for at least 10 years. And that was in the 1930s. And that could happen if the dollar collapses, if the world economy collapses. You could see a major depression happening in the world, and especially in the West. And people are not used to it. You're going to see people rioting in the streets, fighting over food, fighting to survive. There'll be civil wars. It'll be mayhem. Well, let me know what you guys think, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.